potentially. Oh, he's missed it. He had a gander, but immediately they went underwater, submerged, like submarines. Duello has no clue.
See, this is how it goes, Blank. You know, that's literally the case. You're always a stone's throw away from potentially seeing something mythical, but he's missed it. The Loch Ness Monster submerges its head. He drives away. That was the chance, Blank. He could have proven it to be a real animal there. Found the dinosaur still alive in modern days. Instead, he's given them timing to get up on dry land, and they can do a bit of looting now. Whereas previously, like you said, they had nothing to their name. So that would have been the entire Inco squad, you know, basically thrown into a blender in a matter of minutes there from Reject. But no, they will pass each other like ships in the night. They're allowed to move on to land. And their troubles for now, at least, past them.
Sort of funny the fact that Duello came through, picked that entire dot clean as well. So really not much available for that squad in Inco. I think the difficulty comes in for Reject later on, the fact that they have no clue that Inco is behind them. That's the type of thing that will really grind your gears later on, where suddenly you're getting backstabbed by a team and you have no clue how they're here this early. BTR also moving through. Inco, everyone stops, freezes, doesn't move a muscle. This is all about just pretending to be mannequins here, still as a statue, to evade detection.
Does a good job. Isn't going to be given a 50p coin for his troubles as a silver statue, but he will stay alive, and sometimes that's worth more. His BTR will bypass him and start to drive on into the zone, making their move. They're relatively hot on the tail of Reject as well, that have just pulled up just beneath Pachinki as they get into the area. Influence Rage are also coming on down as well, so they might run into each other. We'll see how that goes on a pathing, if they come across one another on their move. Duxan, meanwhile, how have things been going for them? Looks like you've basically been running a bit of a 2-2 setup in the way that they've been playing it. So 2 down towards more so Fairy Pier side. The others on a hill. Here they are now as Zipan is going to be pushed. They look to just swoop in. I mean, you've outnumbered him. Man does at least dodge the first bit, Blank, but hits the vehicle. He's gone, squished under the tires. And this isn't looking great at all. I mean, for Duxan, really, now you're kind of fragmented into 3 players. One of them's miles away as well. And you're already just eating bullets. So this actually could be really rough for them here if they wanted a good start into this game.
Yeah, and you're just allowing Reject into a strong position here on Cat Hill now, where they can just hold this one out. And for Reject, that's a very free positioning given up to them early on in the game, which is massively good for them. On the other hand of things, Western side circle once again will favour over towards FaZe. We know they like to play his position in that central side. Probably another game where they'll grab some placement points, maybe a few more eliminations. They haven't been getting too far towards the end of these games, but with their points balance being the way it is, their bank account is looking stacked and fresh here, up towards 69 points at the top side of the lobby. In comes a couple of players over towards FaZe to try and challenge them in Gaka itself, and it will be Influence Rage sent away almost immediately. Kayofsky here takes a fair bit of damage. Mela similarly in a bad situation. He's out of the way and he needs to get back towards the rest of the team ASAP.
Mela tries to get the meds off, and he's giving himself some more health to play with. Some smokes go down to shroud him as well, as he's back on the move and can regroup, have a little bit of cover to play with inside of the buildings, and that's what they need, as these compounds could be fought for relatively quickly. Just looking at the way the teams are starting to barrel down now closer. Mapples are going to cruise on by. It looked like maybe they were sizing them up and wanting to slide on in for this one, but instead they focus on their own game and will go driving along. Mela completely healthy now, so at least crisis has been averted for FaZe. FaZe that are going to want to have a good game here. Only 9 points away from being lapped by Evos. So picking up a big one is going to be the mindset they're looking at. Gladiators, always the punching bag in the early game, it feels like, in a lot of these lobbies. And Godless has been someone that's taken such an aggressive level of gameplay, Blank. He's been roaming constantly. It feels like him and Alex have basically had the free reign on this team to just say, we want to fight here, we want to push this, and just roam with it. And honestly, they back up their bark with their bite pretty regularly. Like, they have had some huge plays in terms of their gun skill. So IHC, always a sleeper. It's mad as well how, you're kind of locked in 7th place at this point, even with the sheer amount of eliminations they've been getting each game. Feels like they're always good for the elims, but never quite the bride, right? Never quite the team that's taking those chicken dinners, and that's what's been holding them back.
Yeah, they were very aggressive, like go big or go home team, right, at the end of the day. So if they do start getting those eliminations on board, they can barrel through a lot of squads and get to that end game, fine. Yeah, they'll get themselves a huge match. But I do think they expend a lot of that utility, a lot of that firepower early on in the match, end up losing players, and then realistically, the chicken dinner looks like a pipe dream to them. So there is a possibility for IHC to get into the grand finals off elimination points alone here. If that's the vibe they want to go for, hunt down some of these easier teams to take down. I think they identify that Gladiators is certainly one of them, as are the guys over on Inco. In the meantime, we've got Gladiators who sent up towards Everest, but that's not before Pubg Evos gets towards the northeastern edge of it, looking to maybe challenge them out for that high ground early in the game here. Pubg Evos, really good, consistent team so far. Haven't had to talk about them too much because considering they don't make a huge amount of mistakes too often. I think the biggest one we've seen so far was that pushover towards Mad Bulls earlier on today on Sandhawk. But other than that, they've been really clean cut. I mean, Redface, Misery, everyone on that team seems to be stepping up in a massive way for that squad. So it's very, very nice to see it. I do think that Pubg Evos, I would expect them to be in the top 5 by the end of the day, just with the play we've seen from this Indonesian squad.
I think for the fans as well, Blank, that's one that people would want to see, right? The name value, the storylines, the history on the players and the team overall, it would just be so much for them. So I think to see them continue with success after success, it would be great. And they're doing it themselves, right? This is you really sort of taking any pressure off yourself and just playing with that level the other teams now can't compete with you. So for Evos, it really has just been them changing the game and looking a lot better individually rather than other squads slowing down, falling off. Unfortunately for Reject, that seems to be something that's happening quite consistently as they have been letting it slip, have been losing their grip on a potential for any sort of comeback into the overall standings. OCO at least going to try his best here as he gets contact back over onto Mad Bulls. But you're so fragmented again. Mad Bulls, what can they do? They've been having a bad day of it. Feels like they've been really unlucky in a lot of the early drops throughout the survival stage and the last chance stage. It's kind of hit them with the unlucky stick. Not looking as quick to the draw as we saw as well in some of the games from survival stage here. It's felt like last chance has been a lot harder for them to really spread their wings at all. I suppose, that's the issue with being a bull, Blank. You don't normally have wings. More just legs and a little tail.
Yeah, depends how quickly you can wag the tail, though. At the end of the day, go for a little bit of
thrust,
speed spin, on that bad boy. And that's what Mad Bulls need, really, at the end of the day. It is the speed spin to get themselves back up into action. I mean, it does feel more and more likely now for these teams in 12th, 13th, 14th place with what we've seen from Duxan, the game they had. It seems that nothing is off the table here in the last chance. But it's also another last chance classic in the sense that we do get pretty much the same circle we saw from last match there on our angle over towards the south side of Gaka. So DX, they won their last game from this position, but being down to just 3 members does hurt their chances in a big way. Cluck from Udo Alliance will take down Lapar on the knock and likely to be a flush here too. So BTR, think they've been losing quite a few players on their rotates in a few times. Still set steady towards that top 3. Brute Force attempts to take it to task with IHC, but probably the worst team to run into. The most terrifying team with a big set of fangs on them.
Oh yeah, strong jaw strength, and they bite down hard, clamping their way through that one for free. Gladiators, meanwhile, locked into the clash versus the Milo crew, the big man that doesn't muck about. Gladiators already starting to double back somewhat and use the utility instead rather than breaching into the building and running the risk of getting knocked. Ooh, quick info play on the vehicle. They spot out Tixie, know where he's assaulting from now. He's got nades. A couple of them at least, 2 to be precise, with some smokes for the getaway and the Molotovs in the pockets, deeply lined. But he's just playing a bit safer, just on the ridge now, rather